They were Hollywood's biggest stars, mob bosses, and power brokers. But they all shared one secret: the mob owned their dreams. From Bugsy Siegel's bloody end to Jimmy Hoffa's mysterious disappearance, these 20 true stories reveal the dark truth behind Hollywood's golden age. The glamour was just a mask for the murder and mayhem underneath. Number 1. Benjamin Bugsy Siegel. The dream died with a crack of rifle fire. On June 20th, 1947, Benjamin Bugsy Siegel sat reading a newspaper in the Beverly Hills mansion of his mistress, Virginia Hill. He was the architect of modern Las Vegas, the gangster who had charmed Hollywood, a man who dined with stars and dictated to killers. In that quiet moment, a shooter outside the living room window aimed a military carbine. The first bullet struck Siegel in the head, the second in the lung. The man who had built the Flamingo Hotel, a desert oasis meant to lure the Hollywood elite, was dead before he hit the sofa. His blue eyes, famous for their charm, were now wide and lifeless. The murder sent a seismic shock through Tinseltown. Siegel wasn't just another hoodlum. He was a bridge between two empires. He had arrived from New York in the 1930s, a co-founder of Murder Incorporated, but he craved legitimacy and glamour. Hollywood welcomed him with open arms. His charisma made the danger he represented feel thrilling. His vision for the Flamingo was revolutionary, but its budget ballooned from $1.5 million to over $6 million. His partners in the East, Meyer Lansky and Lucky Luciano, grew convinced he was skimming their money. His charm, which had always been his shield, finally failed him. The Beverly Hills drive-by shooting was a message written in blood for all of Hollywood to read. No one was too glamorous, too connected, or too beloved to be touched by the mob. The dream of Las Vegas would live on, but Bugsy Siegel became the permanent cost of its foundation. Number 2. Johnny Stompanato. The fairy tale ended in a bedroom drenched in blood. Johnny Stompanato had the looks of a movie star and the soul of a predator. A former Marine and enforcer for mob boss Mickey Cohen, he used his easy charm to seduce one of Hollywood's biggest stars, the sweater girl Lana Turner. To the public, they were a glamorous couple, gracing red carpets and fueling gossip columns. Behind closed doors, it was a nightmare of control and terror. Stompanato's jealousy was legendary. He controlled who Lana saw, what she wore, and threatened to disfigure her with a razor if she ever left him. On the night of April 4th, 1958, their argument escalated in Lana's Beverly Hills home. In the next room, Lana's 14-year-old daughter, Cheryl Crane, listened in horror as her mother's screams grew more desperate. Something inside the teenager snapped. She ran to the kitchen, grabbed an 8-inch carving knife, and burst into the bedroom. In a single, terrified thrust, she plunged the blade into Stompanato's abdomen. He died within minutes. The subsequent trial was a media circus, with Lana Turner's tearful testimony leading to a coroner's verdict of justifiable homicide. But in the underworld, whispers suggested the mob had allowed it to happen, that Stompanato had become a liability. His death proved that in Hollywood, even a storybook romance could have a tragic and brutally real final act. Number 3. Sal Mineo. The spotlight found him, and then the shadows took him. Sal Mineo was Hollywood's golden boy, a 2-time Oscar nominee before he turned 20. His poignant performance as the vulnerable Plato in Rebel Without a Cause made him a symbol for a generation of disaffected youth. But by the mid-1970s, his star had dimmed. He was openly bisexual in an era less tolerant, and he had moved from teen idol to serious stage actor, often performing in gritty theater productions in West Hollywood. On the night of February 12, 1976, the 37-year-old actor returned home from rehearsal, parking his car outside his West Hollywood apartment. As he walked toward his door, an assailant emerged from the darkness. Mineo was stabbed once in the heart. He collapsed near his car, gasping for air that would not come. The official police theory was a botched robbery, but nothing was stolen. His wallet and watch were untouched. The lack of a motive fueled darker theories. Had Mineo, who frequented the underground club scene, crossed paths with dangerous people? Was his murder a message or a hate crime? The case grew cold for years, the mystery festering. It was finally solved in 1979, when a pizza delivery man confessed to the killing during a robbery, claiming he didn't know who Mineo was. The confession brought legal closure, but it never fully erased the chilling notion that Hollywood's bright lights could be snuffed out in an instant, a random act of violence ending a story of immense talent and unfulfilled promise. Number 4. Virginia Hill. She was the mob's queen, and her kingdom was silence. With fiery red hair and unshakable confidence, Virginia Hill wasn't just a socialite. She was a crucial financial courier for the Chicago outfit, moving vast sums of cash between mob bosses, casinos, and politicians. She knew every secret, every deal, and every man who mattered. Her most famous connection was to Bugsy Siegel, with whom she shared a volatile, passionate affair. She was the last person to see him alive in her Beverly Hills home on the night of his murder in 1947. When the police arrived at the blood-soaked scene, Hill had already vanished, fleeing to Europe. For years, she lived lavishly but paranoidly in Austria and Switzerland, always looking over her shoulder, her packed luggage a constant reminder that her past could catch up at any moment. By 1966, the glamour had faded. Her money was gone, her powerful connections severed. Living in obscurity in a small house in Salzburg, Austria, her story ended on March 24th. Her body was found in the snow behind her home, an empty bottle of sleeping pills nearby. The official cause was suicide, but those who knew the depth of her secrets doubted it. Had the mob finally come to collect? Had she been silenced to protect the names and deals she carried in her head? Virginia Hill's death was less a mystery and more a final, quiet message. In a world built on secrets, the woman who knows too much is the most dangerous person of all. Number 5. Sam Giancana. Sam Giancana was the mob boss who played with presidents and movie stars. He ran the Chicago outfit with cold efficiency, controlling unions, casinos, and politicians. In Las Vegas, he owned the rooms where Frank Sinatra and the Rat Pack performed. The stars thought they were enjoying VIP treatment, but Giancana was really using them to make his casinos look glamorous. He even had rumored connections to President John F. Kennedy. But Giancana's love for power became his weakness. He grew too bold, too public. The U.S. government started watching him closely. In 1975, he was called to testify before a grand jury about Mafia crimes. Many believe he was ready to talk about his secret deals. But on June 19, 1975, someone came to his home in Oak Park, Illinois. As he cooked sausage and peppers in his kitchen, he was shot 7 times in the back of the head. The killer was never found. Sam Giancana's murder proved a dark truth. Even the most powerful man could be silenced if he knew too many secrets. Number 6. Jimmy Hoffa. Jimmy Hoffa was the most famous union leader in America. He built the Teamsters Union into a giant, fighting for truck drivers and warehouse workers. But his power had a dark side. The mob used the union's pension fund like their own bank, taking millions to build casinos and hotels. Hoffa knew all their secrets. When he went to prison for fraud, the mob found new leaders. After his release in 1971, Hoffa wanted his old power back. He started making threats, saying he would expose the mob's secrets if they didn't help him. This was a deadly mistake. On July 30, 1975, Hoffa drove to a restaurant in Detroit to meet 2 mob associates. He told his wife he'd be home for dinner. He never returned. His car was found in the parking lot, but Hoffa was gone. The FBI searched for years, digging up fields, checking landfills, but his body was never found. Jimmy Hoffa's disappearance remains America's greatest mystery. It showed that in the world of organized crime, sometimes the most powerful people just vanish. Number 7. Frank "Lefty" Rosenthal. Frank Rosenthal was the genius behind the mob's Las Vegas empire. He didn't use guns, he used his brain. The Chicago outfit sent him to run their casinos, the Stardust, Fremont, and Hacienda. Lefty made them incredibly profitable through clever schemes and strict control. He became so famous that he even hosted his own TV talk show in Vegas. But his success made him a target. The mob bosses thought he was drawing too much attention. On October 4, 1982, as Rosenthal got into his car after dinner, a powerful bomb exploded underneath it. The blast should have killed him instantly, but a steel plate under his seat saved his life. He stumbled out of the wreckage, badly shaken but alive. Rosenthal knew the message. His own partners had tried to kill him. He left Las Vegas forever and lived quietly until his death in 2008. His amazing story inspired the movie Casino, but the real Lefty Rosenthal proved that in the mob, even the smartest man could become expendable. Number 8. Mickey Cohen. Mickey Cohen was the gangster who loved being famous. While other mobsters hid in the shadows, Cohen posed for pictures with movie stars like Frank Sinatra and Judy Garland. He started as a boxer, then became Bugsy Siegel's right-hand man in Los Angeles. After Siegel's murder, Cohen took over, running gambling, drugs, and protection rackets across Hollywood. He bragged to reporters that he owned more cops than he could count. But his love for the spotlight eventually destroyed him. The government convicted him for tax evasion and sent him to the famous Alcatraz prison. Even behind bars, he acted like a celebrity, signing autographs for other prisoners. When he got out, he was older and sicker. He appeared on TV talk shows, trying to rewrite his story as a businessman. He died of stomach cancer in 1976. Mickey Cohen proved that in Hollywood, crime could become entertainment, but the price was always higher than it seemed. Number 9. Anthony, Tony the Ant Spilotro. Anthony Spilotro was the mob's wild dog in Las Vegas. While Frank Rosenthal ran the casinos, Spilotro handled the violence. The Chicago outfit sent him to protect their money, and he did it with brutal efficiency. He led the hole-in-the-wall gang that robbed casinos and scared anyone who crossed the mob. Hollywood found him fascinating. His character later appeared in the movie Casino. But Spilotro became too violent and unpredictable. He started stealing from the mob and drawing police attention. The bosses back in Chicago decided he was a problem that needed solving. On June 14, 1986, Spilotro and his brother Michael were told to come to a meeting in Illinois. They thought they were making peace with the bosses. Instead, they were beaten to death and buried in an Indiana cornfield. The autopsy showed they were buried alive. Anthony Spilotro's gruesome death proved that even the toughest enforcer was disposable when he became a liability to the organization. Number 10. Carmine Galante. Carmine Galante was so dangerous that even other mob bosses feared him. As head of the Bonanno crime family, he controlled New York's drug trade and ruled through pure terror. His trademark was the unlit cigar always hanging from his mouth. Unlike smart bosses who stayed hidden, Galante loved showing his power. He thought he was untouchable, but his greed made him enemies in his own Mafia family. On July 12, 1979, Galante sat eating lunch in a small restaurant in Brooklyn. 3 masked men walked in and opened fire with shotguns and pistols. Galante was killed instantly, the cigar still clenched between his teeth. The famous crime scene photo became a warning to every gangster. Too much arrogance leads to a bloody end. Carmine Galante learned too late that in the Mafia, nobody is truly untouchable. Number 11. Dutch Schultz. Dutch Schultz was a Prohibition-era gangster who couldn't control his temper. He built a huge empire selling illegal alcohol during the 1920s. But his hunger for power made him reckless. When a young prosecutor named Thomas Dewey started investigating him, Schultz went crazy with anger. He announced he would kill Dewey, which shocked even other mob bosses. Killing a government official would bring too much police attention to everyone. The Mafia's national board decided Schultz had to be eliminated. On October 23, 1935, as Schultz ate dinner in a New Jersey restaurant, 2 hitmen walked in and shot him multiple times. He didn't die immediately. He lingered for a day in the hospital, speaking nonsense that detectives couldn't understand. Dutch Schultz's murder taught the criminal world an important lesson. Sometimes the mob kills you not for failing, but for being too dangerous to keep alive. Number 12. Albert Anastasia. Albert Anastasia was known as the Lord High Executioner. He co-founded Murder Incorporated, the mob's killing machine that carried out hundreds of murders. He was so feared that other gangsters trembled in his presence. But his love for violence eventually turned against him. He grew too powerful and started making enemies within the Mafia. On October 25, 1957, Anastasia went for his regular haircut at the Park Sheraton Hotel in New York. As he sat in the barber's chair with his eyes closed, 2 gunmen rushed in and shot him repeatedly. He died in a pool of shampoo and blood, his body sliding to the floor. The killing shocked America because it happened in such a public place. Albert Anastasia's murder proved a simple truth. In the world of organized crime, even the master of death can become its victim. Number 13. Charles Lucky Luciano. Charles Lucky Luciano was the businessman who turned the Mafia into an empire. Before him, gangs fought messy wars over small neighborhoods. Luciano created the Commission, a board of directors for crime that brought peace between families and made everyone richer. He controlled gambling, drugs, and unions across America. During World War II, he even helped the U.S. government protect New York docks from spies. For this help, his prison sentence was reduced, but he was deported to Italy. From overseas, he still ruled his criminal empire. On January 26, 1962, He was meeting a movie producer in Naples airport to discuss a film about his life when he suddenly collapsed and died of a heart attack. Some believe he was poisoned to stop him from revealing secrets. Lucky Luciano didn't just join the Mafia. He built the modern version that would influence Hollywood gangster movies for generations. Number 14, Joe Columbo. Joe Columbo tried to fight the Mafia's image problem, and it got him shot. As boss of the Columbo crime family, he started the Italian-American Civil Rights League in 1970. He held big rallies protesting how movies and TV showed Italians as gangsters. He even pressured Paramount Pictures to remove the word Mafia from the Godfather script. For a while, he became a celebrity activist, appearing on TV and in newspapers. But other mob bosses hated the attention. On June 28, 1971, at a huge rally in New York City, a man walked up to Columbo and shot him in the head. Columbo survived but spent the next 7 years in a coma before dying. His shooting proved that in the Mafia, the worst crime wasn't murder or theft. It was drawing too much public attention to their business. Number 15, Frank Nitti. Frank Nitti was Al Capone's quiet right-hand man who became the mob's connection to Hollywood. After Capone went to prison, Nitti took over the Chicago outfit. He was smarter than previous gangsters. He moved the mob into legitimate businesses like construction and movie distribution. His control over Hollywood unions gave him great power. Studio bosses paid him millions to avoid strikes that would stop film production. But in 1943, the government finally caught him. Facing prison and knowing he might be forced to testify against his friends, Nitti made a final decision. On March 19, 1943, he walked to some railroad tracks near his home, pulled out a gun, and shot himself. His suicide shocked Hollywood because it revealed how deep the mob's influence went. A powerful gangster would rather die than risk talking in court. Number 16, Tony Big Tuna Accardo. Tony Accardo was the mob boss who outsmarted everyone. While flashy gangsters like Al Capone and Sam Giancana died violently or went to prison, Accardo ruled the Chicago outfit for nearly 50 years without ever being convicted of a serious crime. His secret was simple. He avoided the spotlight. He lived in a normal suburban house, went to church, and let others take the public attention. He focused on business, moving the mob's money into legitimate investments and Las Vegas casinos. When burglars once broke into his home, their brutally beaten bodies were later found as a warning. Accardo died peacefully in 1990 at age 86, watching television in his favorite chair. He proved that the most dangerous mobsters weren't the famous ones in the newspapers, but the quiet ones who knew how to survive. Number 17, Vito Genovese. Vito Genovese was a mob boss who thought he could rule from prison. He took control of one of New York's 5 crime families after his rival Lucky Luciano was deported. Genovese was cold and ruthless. He expanded into drug trafficking and tightened the mob's grip on labor unions, including those in the entertainment industry. But his hunger for power made him many enemies. In 1959, he was sent to prison for drug crimes. Even from his prison cell, he continued giving orders and running his criminal empire. He believed he was untouchable. But on February 14, 1969, Genovese died in prison of a heart attack. Many in the Mafia whispered that he was actually poisoned by his own men who wanted to take over. Vito Genovese's story shows that in the Mafia, no position is safe forever, not even for a boss ruling from behind bars. Number 18, Jack Legs Diamond. Jack Legs Diamond was the 1920s gangster who thought he was bulletproof. During Prohibition, he became rich and famous from bootlegging alcohol. He loved the celebrity life, wearing expensive suits, dating showgirls, and boasting to newspaper reporters about surviving multiple assassination attempts. He was shot so many times that newspapers called him the clay pigeon of the underworld. But his love for attention made him a problem for the more careful mob bosses. On December 18, 1931, after being acquitted in yet another trial, Diamond was relaxing in his Albany apartment. 3 gunmen walked in and shot him 3 times in the head while he lay in bed. The man who couldn't be killed was finally dead. Jack Diamond's story taught the mob that being famous could be more dangerous than being criminal. Number 19, Dino Bravo. Dino Bravo was a Canadian wrestling star who learned that fame couldn't protect him from the mob. In the 1980s, he was a national hero in Quebec, a muscular showman who lifted opponents above his head before cheering crowds. But when his wrestling career slowed down, he needed money to maintain his luxurious lifestyle. He turned to the mob's cigarette smuggling business between Canada and America. At first, it worked well. His fame helped him make connections. But then rumors started that he was stealing money or knew too much. On March 11, 1993, his wife and daughter came home to find Bravo dead in his chair. He had been shot 17 times while watching television. The police called it a professional hit. Dino Bravo's murder proved that the mob's reach extended far beyond Hollywood. Even a beloved sports hero could become their victim. Number 20, Sammy Davis Jr. Sammy Davis Jr. was one of America's greatest entertainers, but even he had to dance to the mob's tune. As a black performer in the 1950s and 60s, he knew that the Mafia controlled the Las Vegas casinos where he performed. They decided which stars got the best shows and the biggest paychecks. When Davis began dating white actress Kim Novak, the mob bosses were furious. According to widespread rumors, they threatened to kill him unless he ended the relationship. A terrified Davis quickly married a black dancer named Lorraine White in 1958. The marriage only lasted a few months, but the message was clear. Though he became incredibly famous, Davis always knew the mob owned the stages he performed on. He once confessed, "I can make $1 million on stage and still owe somebody after the show." His story shows that sometimes the mob didn't need to kill people. They just needed to control them through fear.